Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Wa ba'd. So today, inshallah, this is going to be a brief video just talking about the new book that just came out, so that people can get an idea about what's going on here for the people that don't know. So of course, this is a book that I've been working on for the last, 6-7 months. I was working on it for about 6 months, and then of course in the editing process and everything, so about 7 something, I guess you could check the dates at the beginning of the book, because I started it on Hajj of last year, so I don't know, do the math inshallah. But so basically this book is just a compilation of all of my experience, because when the first time, and this all started back when I was in Atlanta. And I met the brother. There was the Imam of the Masjid in Atlanta. He had just come back from Yemen. He had studied with Sheikh Muqbil, rahimahullah. And of course, this is it was the first motivation for me to get going, to get studying, and start memorizing the Quran, start learning the Arabic language. Because all of this stuff I never knew that that we could study Arabic and we could learn Arabic, because I had never seen anybody that had done it. So just the fact that once I found out, it's like, wow, we can learn Arabic and we can memorize the Quran and we can do all these types of things. We can do this. It just it got me going. And of course, this brother, although he has studied in Yemen, he has studied with a brother there that was very keen on the way of studying of the people of Mauritania in regards to memorization and how they study and all that. So this was like my first, I guess you could say, first lesson in how to study. Was like he used to tell me all the time, like, this is how they do it in Mauritania, this is how they do it in Mauritania. And he never used to tell me, like, this is how we did it in Yemen, because this is the person that he studied with all the time, was this brother. And this brother actually ended up going to Mauritania and studying for a long time. But he had other brothers that were with him that he knew that were already studying in Mauritania, and that's how he got, like, I guess, the knowledge of how they do things, and he was also making the people do those things. So the brother even told me that he had studied like Lamiyat al-Af'al with this guy, and he made him read 3 lines. Like every 3 lines he would make him recite the poem 500 times while he was walking around the masjid. And he told, like, I remember being in Atlanta, and he said, if you want me to recite the poem right now, I can recite the poem right now. I can recite it in my sleep. So I was like, that's it, that's the way to go. I'm just gonna have to memorize things the way that they memorize things in Mauritania. So that's what kind of got me started with the methodologies of like how to study. And then of course I met Fareed, and then I went to Yemen. So all of this is just like, this whole book is just a compilation of all that experience. And then even when I was in Sana'a, I would say, I want to say 2010. It must have been around 2010 or late 2009. I got the opportunity to sit with a sheikh from Mauritania to actually go over, like, because we're studying Al-Ajurumiyya at that time, and just to see how they taught and how they memorized and how they studied. So I was more concerned about the way of teaching, the way of studying, more than I was concerned with the actual book itself and studying the book. Because I could study the Al-Ajurumiyya. I had already memorized Al-Ajurumiyya. And I could already at that time recite Al-Ajurumiyya frontwards and backwards, So it didn't really matter about the book. In fact, I was studying Al-Ajurumiyya with the sheikh, and I was memorizing the poetry from the Jahiliyyah. So I would go and I'd be like, I would start like reciting the poetry to him, instead of like, So my concern was never about the lesson itself, but just to like know how they did things. So like, okay, here's an actual factual sheikh from Mauritania. Let me sit down with him and let me see how they do things. And then, of course, being in Yemen and seeing how, things are done in Yemen, the books that we studied, and, because Yemen is always pretty much been Ahlul Hadith. So if you go back all the way back to the times of, like, where Ma'mar, he went to Yemen, and then Sheikh Imam Abdul Razak al-Sanani, he studied with Ma'mar, and then, and then it just kind of passed down this tradition of Hadith. Because of course Abdul Razak al-Sanani, as we know, Al-Imam Ahmed, he went all the way down to Sana'a just to sit with Al-Imam Abdul Razak, and he took hadith from him. So if you open up the Musnad of Imam Ahmed, you'll see that a lot. Hadathana Abdul Razak. You see that a lot with Imam Ahmed. So he took a lot of hadith from Abdul Razak. He sat with him for a good period of time. And also you got, like, for example, from what I read, Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar also went down to Yemen at one point. So alhamdulillah, the knowledge of hadith is, and the minhaj of studying, that minhaj of Ahl al-Hadith, and the ways of, like, extracting the fawaid and getting the masail from the hadith has always been a part of Yemen. If you go throughout the days to Az-Zabidi, Amir al-Sanani, Al-Shawkani, Allah yarhamhum jami'an, you always see like this. And also Al-Mu'allami, I don't even want to leave out Al-Mu'allami, because he's Imam, and he's got the book of Tankil, which shows you like his knowledge, his level of knowledge in Ilm al-Hadith. So this has always been something that, has always been in Yemen. But the one thing that was never in Yemen amongst these people is just like that pure Aqidah of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. So alhamdulillah, Allah blessed the people of Yemen and blessed us, because we got to benefit from this, the person's dawah, which is Al-Imam Muqbil ibn Hadi al-Wadi'i rahimahullah. And he established that markaz in Damaj, and he went back and started teaching, not just teaching the people just the madhab of Ahl al-Hadith, but also teaching them the correct Aqidah. So, and that was the most important thing. So you have that aspect of this in the book also, the aspect of, again, learning from Ahl al-Hadith. And then after that, of course, me traveling to Saudi Arabia, sitting with different shuyukh. Although I didn't have, I was more reading a lot more in Saudi Arabia than anything else, more than I was, because I didn't have that type of transportation. So I relied on like Uber and taxis to go everywhere that I had to go. So my time with the shuyukh in Saudi was just whenever the brothers would come and pick me up. So alhamdulillah, I got to sit with different shuyukh, so, and alhamdulillah, I wish I could have benefited from them more, but I was more entranced at that time with the reading and focusing on the reading more than anything else. But just to go out and mix with the different students, even in Saudi Arabia, to see like how they study, what they study. So all this book is just a compilation of all that experience, of all these different conversations, of everything. And this is not like, I wouldn't even consider this a final product, but I would consider this a work in progress, to like at least document, to get something like this documented for the people in the West, so that the people in the West, they understand what goes into seeking knowledge. That it's not just about going overseas, memorizing a few juz of the Quran and learning a bit of Arabic, and then you come back and you're the Imam in the Masjid. But there's a lot more that goes into this. That there's you just to show that and detail that and show the type of work. And then of course in the book, I didn't just stop there, So you see like the first 2 chapters, they deal with the benefits of seeking knowledge from the Quran, and then chapter 2 from the Sunnah. And you got like chapter 3, if you can see that, which chapter 3 is the characteristics of a student of knowledge. So, and this is one of the longer chapters, and this was actually, this chapter itself was a series that I was doing on social media a long time ago. So I actually took each one of these characteristics of a student of knowledge, and I would make a video out of it. So that series, I stopped making videos on all those different apps. But I, before, when I was writing the book, I said, man, I need to include this into the book. So what I did is I took the videos. I didn't take the topic. I didn't take like what you see in the book is not from the videos, other than the characteristic only. So like, for example, al-ikhlas, at-taqwa, and different things like, the person needs to be resilient. You have to finish what you start. So I took just the characteristic, and then I wrote, something different. So it's not what you would see. So even if the person has seen the videos, this would still be different than what was in the video. So I mean, because maybe somebody might have downloaded those videos and say, well, I already got the video, but it's not the same. So you got the characteristics of student of knowledge. After the characteristics, I go over like this thing which is called the 5 elements, which are the 5 elements of what everybody has to do when they're studying, which here I mentioned, reading, writing, memorizing, studying, and researching. So, I mean, these 5 elements need to be present in every single thing that you do. Because, I mean, obviously everything starts with, the first thing is, I mean, it actually starts with the actual memorization of something. That you start with memorizing it. And then you go to like maybe different different explanations, because you're trying to understand what you memorized before the class. So this is all about going into class prepared, because, you know, a lot of people, they'll go into the class and they'll start memorizing the book for the class with the class. And that's kind of like counterproductive, because if you really think about it, if you're spending all your time trying to memorize the book that you're studying in the class, you don't have time to memorize anything else. So now the teacher's explaining, and he's giving you all this different fawaid, right, that you're writing in your notebook. What are you going to do with that? What do you have time to memorize that? So again, it's something that I also talk about this in the book. It's about going into every single class that you're going in prepared, that you already have the book memorized. You already have it understood. Now you're going in for that extra added benefit. That's what you're going to write in the notebook. And now you have time to memorize that, because you're not busy memorizing the actual metan of the book that you're studying. You study Bulugh al-Maram, you memorize Bulugh al-Maram first. You study Kitab al-Tawheed, you memorize Kitab al-Tawheed first. You study al-Wasatiyah, you memorize al-Wasatiyah first. Unless it's a book that you don't plan to memorize. Like for example, I mentioned in this book about Umdat al-Ahkam, and I said, okay, for example, like I wouldn't advise the people to memorize Umdat al-Ahkam, but I do advise you to study it, to to read the explanations of it. But if you're going to memorize Bulugh al-Maram, which you should anyways, why would you memorize this and then memorize that? Save the energy for that one book. Don't just memorize things because people memorize them. Like, memorize things because you need it and you plan to keep it. Whatever you're trying to memorize, you're trying to memorize to keep it. You understand? And that's what you're trying to do. You're not just trying to memorize things as a challenge or as something for fun, and then you're going to end up leaving it. What was the point of memorizing? You wasted all that energy for nothing. So all of these different, all this different advice, it goes, I have like one section just dealing only with the Arabic language, where I broke it down into like 9 phases of the Arabic language. And inshallah, I would try to make videos on that. I made a series previously, I think it was like 7 different videos about how I learned Arabic language. But inshallah, if I remake the videos, I'll make the videos this time dealing specifically with, the content of this book, to try to give extra information. There's a chapter on memorizing the Quran, chapter on buying books. The buying books is an interesting chapter, because the buying books chapter was not a part of the book. It was not originally going to be in the book. There was one piece of information that I was giving in the section on memorizing the Quran, which it talked about the different foods that help and strengthen your memory. So I remembered, I said, subhanAllah, I said, I know I read this in a book somewhere, and it was either by Khatib al-Baghdadi or it was by Ibn al-Jawzi. And I read it a long time ago. I had the book, but I couldn't remember which book it was. So I went to go search for the book, because I wanted to take the information directly from the book instead of just giving the information for myself, like it was for me. But I couldn't find it. But in the process of trying to find that book, I found another book that was written by Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, rahimahullah, which was a Taqir al-Ilm. Taqir al-Ilm. And I was flipping through the book trying to find that section about memorization, and I couldn't find it. But he had a section about the importance of buying books. I was like, wow, that's got to go in the book. That's got to go in the book. So what you'll see in that section, which is the last section before I go into the different sciences. So you see, like this, that's chapter 8, right? Which is the buying books chapter. So you see what I do throughout the whole chapter is you see Arabic, English, Arabic, English. I was taking different selections out of Khatib al-Baghdadi's book and just putting them here just to show you, because this was something that, it was like I kept getting contradicting advice, or contrary advice from one person to another. So one person would tell me, nah man, you got money, buy books. Another person would say, nah, don't buy books, just buy the books that you need for the classes. And I was always the type of person, I buy books. I buy, like right now, you can't see it because the camera's up. There's nothing but books around me right now. If the camera was lower, you just see like there's just piles of books around me, but you can't see it. But I mean, that's just what I do. I don't care what the book is. I buy, most of the books are religion, but I buy books on English books, Arabic books, history, whatever. I don't care. Medicine. I got books on medicine around here, books on history around here, books on how to read a book, books on public speaking, books on everything. Everything's around here. And like, if you just see this whole table just full of books, along with time. But so I was that person. And then when I read this section in Khatib al-Baghdadi's book, rahimahullah, I said, nah, that's got to go in. It's got to go in the book. So that was actually, I was editing the book so we could send it to the brother who does the formatting. So while I was editing, I actually added that chapter. This chapter, buying books, was not even in the book when it was about to go to the person for formatting. So before the brother, right before I sent it to the brother for formatting, I included this chapter in the book, like right at the last moment. Right at the last moment. And of course, like after that chapter, you got chapter 9 through whatever. It's all just the different sciences. I think it goes up to chapter 15. So chapter 15 will be the last one, which is fiqh. And then chapter 16, which is just like different, like basically what I did is mostly, I wouldn't say only, mostly I just took Sirah Alam Nubala and read through different sections of like different lives of different people of from the Salaf, and you know, and from their students, like, you know, so you got like an Imam al-Bukhari in there, you got Al-A'mash in there, you got Sufyan al-Thawri in there, I think Sufyan ibn Uyayna, you know. So I mean, I just went through different lives and just read and just picked things out that were just like very, very motivational about knowledge and things like that. Because obviously when you're reading through like Sirah Alam Nubala, you're not just going to be reading, you're not going to just be reading, like there's a whole mixture of stuff, right? You know, all different quotes and things about the person's life. So I was trying to just pick those things that kind of motivate students and knowledge, you know, so that people can get a taste. Because this is what we used to do. Whenever we lacked motivation to study, we would go to the Sheikh's library, Allah yarhamu, Sheikh Muqbil. It was the big library, and Damaj was Sheikh Muqbil's library. So we used to just go to the library and just grab a volume of Sirah Alam Nubala, look up somebody, whoever it was, Imam Ahmed, Imam al-Bukhari, Imam Muslim, whoever, and just read about his life. And just read about his life. And then Imam al-Shafi'i, I mean all the different, you know, all the different muhaddithin and ashab al-fiqh. You just go and just read about their lives. And then once you read that life, you know, you're just like, nah, we got more work to do. Stop being lazy. Stop being lazy. So it was always motivational. And of course, I ended the book off with the stories of Al-A'mash, because everybody loves Al-A'mash. Everybody loves Al-A'mash. Allah yarhamu. Allah yarhamu. Oh, we need Al-A'mash today. We need Al-A'mash today. Oh my God. Allah yarhamu. Allah yarhamu. Yes, that man. But I also wanted to include things in his life story that were not, you know, raw and uncut. You know, I wanted to show like, okay, this man was very serious about the deen. He's very serious about knowledge. So I kind of included this, you know, the stories that are like, just make you laugh when you read them, and the other stories that would be like, subhanAllah, I want to be like him, you know. So alhamdulillah. So that's the book. And it's finally out. Like I said, it was like, because I mean, obviously I was working on this book while I was also, like, the first book that obviously that came out was the fasting book, which was you know, the beginning. It was you know, the month of Sha'ban, the previous year. So that was the first book that came out. Then after Ramadan, I started to work on this book. But not actually, no. After Ramadan, I was working on other books, which are just other things that I was working on that just I never really got into. But the books are there, you know, inshallah, for future. But explanation of Al-Arba'in an-Nawawi, what else? There's also going to be a book similar to this about the Salat, which inshallah I will be working on, because just so much stuff keeps coming up. So I actually have the chapters, like I don't know how many chapters I've already finished of the prayer book, which, you know, be, like I said, it'll be another book, another part of this series, inshallah. And then of course, you know, the bitter truth, I had to write that. Then I was compiling those hadith for the daily hadith. So then we published that, and then finally I got to work on this alone and finish it. So, and that's why, alhamdulillah, it took so long, because now, honestly, because all this book is just straight from the head to the paper, you know. So it wasn't like it would take that long, because it wasn't something I had to go and research. But Allah musta'an. But I just needed the time. So alhamdulillah, it's out, it's available. And hopefully, inshallah, any type of feedback from the people who actually bought the book and read the book, not just bought the book, but actually read the book, any feedback, inshallah, let me know. Let me know what you thought about the book. Let me know, like, the good parts, the bad parts. or or what can be improved, inshallah, because maybe, and there's some things that, like, okay, maybe I didn't explain it good enough, it needs more explanation, inshallah, let me know. Because like I said, I consider this book, this is a work in progress. I don't consider this like the final copy of this book is when I die, inshallah. That's it. Because I'm not going to be able to add any more to the book. But I mean, it's a work in progress just to get that information out to the people, so that the people can really, really, really get a good insight into like the type of work that goes in to seeking knowledge. It's not just, like I said, going overseas, learning Arabic and memorizing a couple of Jews and coming back and trying to pretend like you're Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. Allahu musta'an. وإلى هنا سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.